2, and many more. We also construct amazing buildings and fabulous finishes. Contact Nema Properties, where real estate and building constructions are made easy. We are located at Atlas Elton Petrol Station opposite Fire Service Brikama Haula Kunda, Combo Central District, West Coast Region. And you can reach us on these numbers: 900-1000, 991-2637, 970-6030, 777-3241, 391-2637, or 7375865. Or better still, send us an email at nemaproperties2018@gmail.com. We offer other services such as property management and rentals. We change car for land and land for car. Land documentation. We build houses, story buildings, and self-contained. Nema Properties is the place for you.
Moro, ebe siri kam dami be jomolling mun be kerim dum. Alay kewa. Nkoy ko ntala kuntun kundunda. Mbore mborenta. Malambe kira nyamin luwa sombatata walla mbedum kira nyine kay kafu me korda. Mboro korda dende ngani foyi. Ebe ke fanke ko mi yalan ko mantara Gambia. Foy mama kafu mine jama real estate. Munan jama real estate. Munan koy konti sambete nyamin ki jol real estate kool ngoro real estate kool bo nimbala de kana fonya ko tan ki jol bo real estate kool kantu mina keta a real estate min be keni bankon kan a nyonye siata atapale siata wala nan ki jol bo real estate kool bar sante mbidamin moro be solan kordala jama real estate ñun mu ñanta walleti ñun lenata kaaje ko mobe korda soto adadi ma lanno be damen anin tringo hanna kare killing atana kool kon bar moro ñin jama real estate ñun kam da ko ñun mu ñonta walleti bar sa yin jama real estate ñun lekkere mun tol dum jama real estate sa ententing dinkral be mbru dame abe kon Tuba Kuta housing estate, Jalambang housing estate, Brikama Sanchaba, Sanyang Barcelona estate, aning Sanyang Nimisa alkanani dinkira killing al fan ben bulle dulalto tari manna da wala nada ko daga promotion ba so nda klianoli moro mon promotion lawti ndol da malen estate do mini alanko ni e korda sambulu andu ya cash payment angal ka fam ya cash payment ini ko data mbe cementi boti muang mbolo dilela nin atra na korda mini be Tuba Kuta anen Jalambang e wala sam bari fana sa intended na korda mini be Sanyang anen Brikama ni e wol sam saji o leyango nka wala dungi bulo ko ala keba jamari estate sa ni min lafta kanyunu je ibita mun tole wala lafta ke ko mon telephone jirodo mbe suru nyaaji de moro sonet jamari estate ifele Brikama sate ba inin isansero min be nyobala e ka fo isansero le ja awel inin joko fo man jampanyola alsel sotno na numbato
يقول لنا اتغيرت عليه
زمان سيسكو حبدو يندو نانتي مينا دا كالدا عندي أنا كورا ولا هني كولي أقول وواتو تنبيتك كافو كورا بين نجارة التاتا سيسكو حبدو ngasala jele min kam tako olive oil black seed powder na jaralo fana so ko wala mi ala ko be ko la ko so lef to bon ani musol fana mi kany ko la ko kilo mo na ta crème so be ko musol mi ala ko la ta ke su ko wala la ta ke balo fana na re ni mo so sa me ba pini mi ala ko alfa ni mo desi na fala ko sa ko dino ni kara na gale ko ya fana so be mi ala ko aka pay jarale na re ni crème fana so be sena pay crème fana mi jele na ta ni bi so mi ala ko kilo mi la ta ke fana sa sa ko ta mi ala ko kili ni fol besi muna fala na da min kana fol so le miya ko aka bala na nyama isen tara dum na bunda ba to min le hay ko dala ko kama nema wala fa ko so ko no telefono 3354734 3025745 2196766 wala 6819666 Rami Sisoko haba to sawa min le mult min na da kalda hanti
specific contents on the draft constitution with regards to the specific rights and freedoms of the draft constitution. And but before we go there, we would like to introduce our guest for the first, so that he will be able to introduce himself, and from there we would pick the discussion. But before that, I would just like to say that the phone lines would be open as soon as possible, so that listeners could also input their perspective to the program. And then we see how best we can learn from each other. So, Mr. Musa Sayo, welcome to the Legal Hour on BFM 91.2. Yes. Could you, first of all, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of your educational background with regards to your tertiary, especially your law program? Yes.
Particularly on this very important discussion. Yeah, so basically, as you just hinted out, I'm a graduate, Bachelor's of Law degree holder from the University of the Gambia, batch of 2018 in particular. And most of my, I think my relevant legal background includes I was a participant of the International Criminal Court Note competition that was held in Netherlands, in 2018. And in the following year, 2019, I was engaged by the Faculty of Law Admin to coach the team that's supposed to represent the university in the same competition in 2019. Yeah, so currently I'm a Gambian and currently I'm living in Brikama. Yeah, so it's a pleasure actually to be here.
Yeah, so listeners, you heard him right. Basically, he's a law graduate from the University of the Gambia, and as I said, this evening we'll be focusing more on specific freedoms that are enshrined in the draft constitution to make some clarifications with regards to some of those areas that have attracted a lot of debate. Within the country. So we would try as much as possible to clarify some of those places. But first of all, give us your reaction to the draft constitution. Was it a good document or was it otherwise?
Interesting, actually. I think there is a fundamental purpose for which the whole setup was created. The CRC was established actually to fulfill a mandate, and that mandate actually will lead us into a new regime, that is a new draft constitution. Yeah, I think personally I would say like it's both disappointing, and in one aspect it could be a yes. I think it's disappointing the outcome of the decision by the National Assembly with respect to the draft constitution. And also I also believe in another aspect also, it is both an education and a very important lesson for the Gambians. Yeah, we shouldn't actually give it a one-side view. Yeah, this aside from the fact that the purpose for which the CRC was established has been defeated in one aspect, that is to say that the draft constitution didn't pass through the referendum. Yeah, so it's an objective assessment. Yeah, you can view it on both sides. And in another angle, you can say it actually gives us, the people of the Gambia, an opportunity to actually learn about what a constitution is all about. And aside from that also, the fact that the constitution didn't pass through, this will also serve as a lesson for the Gambians.
Okay, but was it a good document? Because some of the people out there, or some of the critics, are saying it was a copy and paste thing. Was it a good document, for instance? Or what is your specific view of the document itself, of the draft itself? Was it a good one or a null and void?
I think the document is very important. It is a very good one. Of course, I think you used the term good, but if I should give a very actually sincere expression about it, I think it is more than that. Yes, this constitution. For example, look at some of the provisions. There has been a very unique provisions in contrast to the current constitution, that is the 1997 constitution. There have been additions, provisions that are not reflected in the 1997 constitution, and if you go through carefully on the draft constitution, you will find those provisions. And I believe all those things are very important. I will give you an example. For example, we have under section 45, you have the freedom of the media. This has been for the first time that the media has been given the opportunity to be given a freedom under the constitution of the Gambia. And also we have access to information also. There is a specific provision that is provided for that. And also we have rights to a fair and a fair forced labor practices. And this one also is for the first time that is reflected under the Constitution of the Gambia.
Okay.
And I will just mention a few of them. We also have a right to clean environment, and we have economic and social rights. Yeah, I mean, some of these provisions, you can find them under the current Constitution, but like they haven't been specifically defined. And this draft Constitution actually created special provisions for them. So I think that is very important for the progress, for the democratic progress of this country.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, listeners, you're listening to the Legal Hour on BFM 91.2. My name is Yero Esba, and my guest is Musa Sajo, a law graduate from the University of the Gambia. So let us look at this point, which has also attracted some debate from some push and pull, like plagiarism. What is plagiarism? And can Constitution be plagiarized, for instance?
Yeah, I think under the copyright law, that is where copyright law, that is where the term itself derives. That is plagiarism. Normally, it's I will give an ordinary interpretation to it.
Okay.
Yeah, for the benefit of our audience outside there. It normally basically means like copying something from a source without actually taking permission from that particular source and present that particular document as your own. That is, yes, that is the basic actually idea of the concept of plagiarism. So now it will lead us to the question, can a constitution be plagiarized?
Yes.
I think, of course, there has been a lot of discussions, debates about it. Yes, some even give an example. They say this draft constitution has been plagiarized from the Constitution of Kenya. We hear all those arguments. Yeah, so the reality about it is that not only a constitution, but any legal document, when you follow, I will give you a very good and interesting examples. Take an example of the current Criminal Code of the Gambia. Okay. There are specific provisions that are quoted verbatim from the Criminal Code of Nigeria. But that is one example.
Okay.
Also, when you look at even at the international level, we have the Rome Statutes of the International Criminal Court. This is the statute that governs the operation of the ICC. And now there is a specific provision under this statute also. You have under Article 6 of the Rome Statute is also quoted verbatim from the Genocide Convention of 1951. So all these are very good examples. Of course, those who don't have a background in law will term it as a plagiarism. But any person who undergoes through legal study will understand that all these things are permissible.
But I would definitely cut you here because one of the legal luminaries who pointed this out, that the Constitution or the draft Constitution was plagiarized, is somebody is a Gambian lawyer. I actually is someone like Dabo or something like that.
It's something LK Dabo.
Yes.
Yes, I know him.
So he pointed out this, and then it has created some kind of chaos here and there. And you were saying like somebody who is groomed from the legal perspective of things would realize that constitutions or legal documents can be taken or borrowed from one person or from one source to another.
Yes.
Wouldn't this create a chaos here, or an argument here?
I think there should be a room for an objective assessment. That is to actually respect his opinion. That is Lamin K. Dabo. His legal opinion about the draft. I in particular respect that. However, I have my reservation. That is that he need to understand, including other persons, that it is actually permissible to quote even in verbatim a provision of law from other sources and use it, as long as there is a very good and a reasonable ground to do so for the benefit of the surrounding circumstances. I believe there is technically there is no wrong in doing that. Okay. Yes.
All right, listeners, this is the Legal Hour on BFM, and my guest is Musa Sajo, law graduate from the University of the Gambia. We are basically discussing some specific content of the draft constitution, which was voted out by parliamentarians, and it has created some real push and pull. But I think this is basically, when it comes to democracy and good governance or political maturity, it seems Gambians are learning faster, and they are actually assuming the responsibility of allowing different views to come in.
Indeed.
So this is a plus for democracy, even though others might see it as a retrogression. But still now, in democracy or in governance, there is nothing like taking the back seat. Do we? Do we need to take the back seat?
No, we don't have to.
No. So look at this, for instance, the fundamental human rights in the draft constitution. What is your perspective regards to that particular area of the draft? How significant has this draft taken the fundamental human rights of human of Earth, of human beings? How was it captured in the draft? Yes,
I think it gives more respect to fundamental human rights compared to the 1997 Constitution, and also, like, when it comes to interpreting some of the terms, it is even broader in context than that of the 1997 Constitution. And taking, for example, when you look at the fundamental human rights provision that is under Chapter 4, you will realize that there has been additions of human rights that are not reflected in the 1997 Constitution. So how does this even come about? The reality is that it's just a fact of common knowledge. Like the CRC in fulfilling its mandate engaged the Gambian people in a lot of consultations, and I think they went throughout the country, and also they meet certain private stakeholders and even some relevant institutions within the country, and they showed their opinion with respect to what should be reflected in the constitution. Because when you look at what is a constitution, though the earlier discussion
was
already dealt on that, but now there is a key element to the whole concept of constitution. That is the will of the people. A constitution cannot be considered a constitution if it lacks the will of the people. And how do you gain the will of the people? You need to ask them, what do you want? Though there have been certain principles called universal principles of universal principles, like principles that, the human rights provisions that attain the status of universality. That means it applies to all persons in the world, regardless of what type of distinction they may have.
Or locality.
Exactly. But now, this particular aspect now, these particular provisions, for them to be reflected in the Constitution, and we call them the will of the people. Okay. Is it fair to call it the will of the people if you don't seek the consent of the people? I think that is a question a lot of people have been critical on, particularly with respect to the 1997 Constitution. Okay. Because when you look at the method and the manner in which the 1997 Constitution came about, it raises a lot of questions about capturing the will of the people.
Was it so consultative like the current draft?
It wasn't. Obviously, even those who voted against this draft obviously knows that there can be there is no comparison to that. Yes, when you look at the level of consultation, yes, I can give a detail of the consultation that was done in the 1997 relating to the 1997 Constitution. But certainly we are all students and we learn about legal history, how the 1997 Constitution came all about. There has never been a commission called the CRC in the history of the Gambia. This is the first time. And in fact, the purpose of the CRC is to actually get the will of the people to be reflected in the Constitution.
Okay, that brings me example. Look at these sources. The sources to the creation of a constitution.
Yes.
One of them, I believe, is consultation.
Consultation, yes. For
within the citizenry, and another one is quoting international conventions, for instance, like the UN. Human rights charters and the AU or the ECOWAS.
Exactly.
So these are some of the sources that someone can basically rely on to draft a new constitution.
Yes.
So this brings back to the question whether people can really plagiarize constitutions.
Constitution, yes.
Because I don't, because there are a lot of debates, especially on social media, where people are some of them are like Yero Esba, who doesn't know anything about the law and hasn't even set an eye on the draft constitution, but still now they try to vilify the document because and a document that you have never seen, that you have never read, or even if you read at least some parts of the Constitution or the draft, you just look at some of the main areas where, for instance, doubts you and you don't have a legal background to interpret it. You base on that and you try to create chaos. So, listeners, you're listening to the Legal Hour. With me, Yera Esba and Musa Sajo, a law graduate from the University of the Gambia. If you're interested in joining the show, you can basically call us on 7814-456, 7814-456, 7814-456, or 329-6069, 329-6069. If you want to be part of the show, or you want to raise a question, or you want to make a clarification, you are highly welcome on BFM 91.2 rather, on BFM here in Birkama. So let us look at this, Mr. Sajo. Like, specifically, how do you read the decision of the Parliament in basically voting out this draft constitution? Can you educate us a little bit on the voting pattern of the parliamentarians on this document? Because when you look at it, for me, I saw like the APRC party, all of their members voted no. Okay? And GDC, some voted yes, others voted no. And UDP, all of them voted yes, I believe. I stand to be corrected though. So where does this leave our politics, especially partisan politics, at the National Assembly, people who are actually there to represent us, our interests, our aspirations, our wishes? Because for APRC, for me, my understanding is anything that has to do with the 1997 Constitution, if it is against the 1997 Constitution, they are against it. That's how they voted. That's how I understand their voting. And what is your lesson that you have drawn from this parliamentary debate, or from this parliamentary voting against the draft constitution? Yes,
that part is actually interesting, because that is in fact the point that most people find it difficult to get a reasonable or rational answer to. Because I once described the term as a parliamentary fast in one of my comments earlier. I call it a parliamentary fast because I learned it from one of the constitutional law analysts. She noted that, let me take you back to the roots of the problem. She pointed out that if we fail to send representatives who are well informed in matters of government, the rights which we have earned by great efforts will prove ineffective in practice. So I think that is one argument that we can actually relate to what happened in the Gambia. Of course, there is no doubt about it. There are a lot of educated men in our National Assembly. But when you look at the pattern of voting and also the method of argument advanced by some of them, obviously it will lead one to the conclusion that most of them actually lack the education, the proper knowledge needed by a person to occupy a seat in the National Assembly. Because there is one point you even noted, like some people mentioning certain provisions which are actually not even reflected in the draft. So I think basically when you look at just to get to your question, the pattern of voting, I think you are right about it. For example, the APRC, all of their party members actually voted no. Yes, of course, people understand that. The reason is that they have a fundamental purpose of safeguarding the 1997 Constitution. That is their priority. No matter what happens, they will vote against anything that actually has nothing to do with the 1997 Constitution. And I think it will be very sad to them also for them to see the death of the 1997 Constitution. Actually, I totally agree. I believe that is the reason why 5 members of the APRC all voted no.
How about the UDP, for instance?
The UDP, yes. Now, UDP part is interesting. Even some people advance the same argument They said, how comes all UDP members in National Assembly voted yes for the draft constitution? Yeah, of course. I believe I actually respect whenever we are discussing, whether anywhere, we allow people's opinion. We hear it. We don't have to accept it, but we need to actually tolerate it. That is the fundamental essence of democracy. You don't have to accept that something happened, but you need to tolerate that it happened, because you have your version of the things, and another person also has his or her version. And that is it. So for the UDP, the fact that my observation is that the UDP, they are actually, their mandate, how to call it, what they want in heart is actually will take us back to the bigger picture. That is the transitional justice process of the Gambia. Those who voted yes, believe that this is not only about the CRC. In fact, the CRC is part of a picture. That is what people fail to understand. CRC is just a component of the transitional justice process of the Gambia. And now, voting against the draft constitution means actually halting or frustrating the transitional justice process of the Gambia. Because this CRC, the establishment of the CRC is in fact the child of that. The whole idea of actually getting the Gambia together by correcting the wrongs that happened in the past, and also give the chance to the people to build a better future.
But there are other arguments or other critics who are saying, suppose this constitution died here, which the CRC chairman has said that it is yet to be dead, it is in coma.
Yeah, I don't know. I followed his comment.
Yes, it is in coma.
Yes.
So suppose it did not survive the coma and the constitution or the draft dies. There are some critics who are saying like it means we have thrown back the whole aspiration of the new Gambia, for instance, where we are talking about the Jani Commission, the current TRRC. So all that would be dumped. Is that your understanding of throwing away this draft constitution?
I think if I can understand your question very well.
Yes.
Yes. Now look at the Janet Commission. I think the Janet Commission, what happened to their report and what is happening to the draft constitution, I think they are kind of similar. Yeah. Both, just as I said, all of them are part of the transitional justice process of the Gambia. But so far, none of them actually attain the aim that they are intended to.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can't say wholly that they failed. No, I think even what the chairman of the CRC mentioned is very important.
Okay.
In fact, he is trying to send a message to the Gambians. The fact that the draft doesn't pass through doesn't mean that it failed. Because just in my earlier discussion I said, like this also has served as a lesson. And it also educates a lot of Gambians about the whole idea of a constitution. And the fact that he said that the constitution is in a coma is actually implying that, though it is being revoked, but based on certain legalities and procedures, there is a possibility that a motion can be raised again with respect to the same constitution, the draft. That is a possibility, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, because when you look at it, now what arguments or what critics resulted to the collapse of the draft constitution is that some of them contend that they are dissatisfied with some of the provisions, and also contend that the fact that it has been plagiarized and other reasons. Now, it's a possibility, maybe. I think they have not been specific about the things they are dissatisfied with.
Okay.
Yeah, they should be specific about it so that they can give the drafters of that constitution an opportunity to go back to it again. I believe this is a democratic process. We shouldn't interpret laws rigidly. Yeah, there should be a room for flexibility in every legal process. Okay. And if that is the case, there is a possibility, just as he hinted, the possibility of the draft constitution still going ahead.
Okay, so let us look at this point. He did mention that they could have been, because in the act that establishes CRC, it gives them the power for them to be called at the National Assembly to clarify certain points.
Yes.
And he said they were never consulted or never called to the Parliament to clarify these areas, these grey areas, basically. What does that click to your mind? Was it something that was cooked behind, basically, to throw this draft constitution in totality? Or have they violated the act that they have already put in place? Yes.
Yeah, I think, well, maybe that the facts surrounding that, the fact that the CRC wasn't consulted, maybe I don't have much actually knowledge about that. That is his narration, and he knows what happened. So obviously, if he said that, we should give him the benefit of doubt, the presumption that was what happened.
Okay.
And if in the event that was what happened, then we will say not only those who voted against the draft, but the entire parliament actually failed in their responsibility. Because, of course, those who drafted the constitution should be given an opportunity to come and explain.
To interpret it.
In fact, that is very important. Because some of them, the way they argued, it actually tells us that they don't understand.
They are not legally grounded at all
about the draft constitution, to be particular. And now, if that being the case, they actually need to ask questions from the drafters. And then from there, their minds will be actually, clarification will be actually given to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, listeners, you can call us on 784-1456. 7841456. 7814456. 3296069 basically. Yes, so you can call us on these numbers if you want to participate in the program. You're listening to the Legal Hour on BFM 91.2. This is Hiro Esba and Musa Sayo. We are here on the Legal Hour. I think somebody is on the line. Hello? Oh, okay. Nobody is on the line. So we continue. Let us look at this point here. I think someone is calling. Hello? Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir. How are you?
How are you doing?
Fine, Alhamdulillah.
I wanted to contribute to the program.
Okay, what is your name?
Yeah, my name is Abubakar Sadikan.
Abubakar Sadikan, yes, welcome to the show.
Yeah, the problem with our surgical system.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing so far. One can understand.
All right.
Yeah, there's too much of, problem, lack of understanding.
Okay.
Hurting one another as a political party.
Okay.
So we don't want to amicably try to understand the political process that we are in.
Okay.
Every political party is looking at his or her own interest, which is very dangerous. We are not looking at the country's.
Oh, sorry, we lost him. Thank you very much for calling, basically. You can come back again if you're interested in making further contributions. So, let us continue, Mr. Sayo. Let us now go into specific details. For instance, here,
right.
It is talking about specific rights and freedoms. One of them is basically the right to life.
Yeah.
So it says a person shall not be deprived of life intentionally.
Yeah.
How important is this point, for instance? Because there are other explanations. Basically, you have 1 and 2 and other subsections.
Yeah.
How important is the right to life?
Yeah, the right to life actually is even so fundamental to the entire concept of human rights. And this particular word or the term unintentional, I think is very important there. Like, this means that this is a general rule. Like, there can be an exception. There are exceptions to it.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, I think I don't have much actually argument.
Yes.
Because that word unintentional is also reflected under the 1997 Constitution.
Okay.
So it's like there is no difference with respect to that.
Okay.
However, there is one thing that is very important when it comes to conditions under which a person can be deprived of his fundamental human right to life. And when you look at that exception under the 1997 Constitution, it includes imposition of a death sentence on a person Like, for example, when a person is sentenced to death by a court of competent jurisdiction, then automatically he cannot actually raise the argument of his right to life being violated, or other parties raising that argument. Yeah, that is the idea behind the 1997 Constitution. But now, when you look at, when you look at the draft Constitution, you realize that death sentence is not actually a ground to deprive a person of his right to life. Yes, that is not mentioned there. So I believe that is something very important.
So there was
either the draft is suggesting that death penalty is no more in the Gambia. I believe that is that is the point.
That's the point.
And if that is the point, I think maybe people have a different version of it, argument. But I believe that is actually a progress towards realizing a true democracy.
Okay.
Yes.
So we would not go details into this particular point because I'm raising towards one point which is also creating so much debate or so much wriggle around, and that is the right to marriage.
Right to marriage,
Yes. So many people are saying the CRC actually agreed or put it in the draft constitution that men and women or men and men can basically marry, like same-sex marriage. You know, there are some critics who are trying to defile the whole process, saying that in the draft constitution, gay marriage is allowed, or it is permitted in the country. Women can marry women, or men can marry men. So today, I would like us to clarify this point for our listeners, so that they would understand what is actually going on. Because as I said in the beginning, like so many people are basically talking about the draft. They're like me. They haven't rated. So they just heard it hearsay from the streets, and they started talking about it. So I would look at this point here. I'm driving at let me see. The right to, let us look at this before we get to the right to marriage. That's the right to religion and consent. So many other, especially our Muslim brothers and sisters, or our Christian brothers and sisters, this point was really so attractive to them. Especially our imams, they give sermons most of the time to say, now in this new draft constitution, you can be anything. You can believe in any form of ideology in this country. Like here it is saying, every person has the right to freedom of consent, religion, thought, belief, and opinion. I think that is very important. In a democracy. It's important to highlight this point. What is your take on this freedom of religion and consent? Somebody coming from a legal perspective or from a legal background, for instance. Yes.
That is important again. In the sense that every human person have the right to right to believe in whatever religion he wants. In fact, you have the right not to believe in any religion. Yes, that is a right. It's a fundamental right. You have the right to be a Christian. Another person has the right to be a Muslim. Another person has the right not to believe in either Christianity or Islam. That is actually, I'm giving an analysis from human rights perspective. Yes. So now coming down to our level here, that is the draft constitution. What does it say about this right? Of course, as you read it out, that is it. These rights are very important, and they have actually clearly been outlined by the draft constitution. And also, when you look at it, the argument that has been raised, that have been debated, I think it actually centered on one particular concept or doctrine called secularism. Now I believe at that time, in fact, when that debate was going on, it appeared that like some actually don't understand the whole concept of secularism.
And what is secularism?
Secularism, actually, I love giving ordinary meanings, actually, to benefit the audience. So like secularism is actually, it means like all types of religion are actually allowed to be practiced in a particular state. That is actually the ordinary interpretation. All types of religion are allowed to be practiced in a particular state.
Does it mean
it doesn't say, as a Muslim, you don't have the right to be a Muslim. as a Christian, you don't have the right to be a Christian. Yes, that is actually my understanding. Maybe people have a reservation to that.
Yes.
That is fine. And then now, why should it even be an issue with respect to this draft? Because, right now we are talking about the final draft of the CRC. But even the earlier draft, that were not the final, didn't even reflect the word secularism.
Wow.
They didn't. Even at the time that debate was going on.
So where does
just as I said, the CRC was engaging the Gambians to know what the Gambians people want. That was why they raised this issue, whether secularism should be reflected in the constitution or not. This was the debate. Now, the question is, should secularism be reflected in our new constitution? That is actually the topic of discussion. Now, some people misconstrue that. They took it to mean that the draft constitution should reflect secularism. Yeah, so the point is, if you miss the topic of the debate, all your arguments become how do I describe it? Nonsense. It wouldn't make sense.
Okay.
Yeah, though there were people who were given a very important and very good approach to the debate, and some people also understood their line of argument.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is it. So the fact that, in fact, secularism is not mentioned, I think now that is fine. So if somebody doubts that secularism means this, another person take it to mean this, then the best thing to do is to even omit the term to avoid the conflict.
So it was,
and that was what the CRC did.
CRC done.
Yes, and the new draft constitution that was tabled before the National Assembly. In fact, this is the beginning of the constitution. So if somebody couldn't see that this is not there, automatically, how can you even think that person read the draft constitution? This is the problem about some of our members of the National Assembly.
Okay.
It's actually embarrassing, to be honest about it. Yes.
So does this call for political consciousness? For instance, as to when the time for election comes, we should be very mindful as to the people that we sent into the parliament to represent our interests.
Yes, I mentioned to you the root of the problem is our failure to send people who are well informed about matters of government. That was how it started. The Gambia, when you look at the political structure of the country, sometimes when you tell people, they try to deny it because of the fact that they are Gambians. But now we cannot run from realities. We need to confront our realities. The reality, the political reality of this country is that tribalism is actually existing. Our method of voting, in fact, said it all. Yes, people vote based on partisanship. Like, this particular candidate, I'm from the same tribe with this particular candidate. I don't look at the capacity of this particular candidate, the competence of this particular candidate, the education, knowledge, and intelligence of this particular candidate, whether he or she will be able to represent me very well, properly represent me. We don't observe all these factors. All what we are concerned with is that somebody had to rule the Gambia who is in the same tribal line with me. This is the problem. And that is the reality of the Gambia. Even today, that is the problem. Yes. I don't run from the realities. We need to first, in order to even find solution to our problems, we need to first confront our problems. From there, then we'll be able to see what next to do.
Like, I'm not trying to deviate from the topic of discussion, but basically, I spoke to one guy, and he said, the problems of the Gambia is that we even don't know what the problems are. And he said, as long as we don't know the problems, we can no longer solve them. And that's basically the fact.
Yeah.
So, listeners, you can call or contribute to the program, that is the Legal Hour on BFM 91.2 on 784-1456 784-1456 or 329-6069 329-6069. You can call those numbers and make your contributions or comments to the program. We are actually learning also from the listeners, so they should basically call in so that we can take some of the points that they make to enrich ourselves too. This is a learning process. All right, so let us look at this point here, and that is the right to marriage and found a family. Yeah, this has created a lot of also a debate around. So it says a man and a woman of full age and capacity have the right to marry and found a family, and such marriage shall be based on the free and full consent of the man and the woman. So the 1997 Constitution was talking about men and women. But for this one, it's so specific that it is telling you man and woman. So what is the argument here? This is a simple English that every person could really understand. So what is the misinterpretation coming from? Where is it coming from, for instance, especially on this?
On this one, yes. It's still also, just as I said earlier, like sometimes, even in law, we have what is called rules of interpretation. Some give literal interpretation to terms of law. Some give golden rules of interpretation. Some give mischief interpretation. And now, this is the point here. Just the two words. The first one said man and woman. Sorry, the 1997 said men and women. And the draft said man and woman. The question is, what is the difference between them? Now, let's go back to primary school. What is a man? A man is just a singular person who possesses the, male characters. Let me put it that way. And a woman also the same. A singular person. Now, men refers to a plural, and women refers to a plural female, female group of person. So now, what is the difference? Somebody singularize it, another one pluralize it. Should that be a problem? That is not.
To the level of throwing 116 million.
Exactly. It's like we are learning the basic literal interpretation now here in the Gambia.
So
it's just common sense.
So which interpretation should we take? For instance,
either of them. I think either of them is fine. Yes, I think either of them is fine. How the 1997 Constitution put it is fine. Men and women. How the draft Constitution put it is fine. Yes, man and woman. Yes, there is no difference.
Age and consent.
What is more important about this thing is about the idea of marriage. Let's say in here in the Gambia here, who do we consider as a man? Somebody of full age. A person under the age of 18 cannot be called a man. Even you are a male, we can't call you a man because you are below the standard, the threshold. You are below the threshold to become a man. So now, this is telling us that, aside from this other argument that is being raised, the law is trying to protect the rights of children, persons under the age of 18. Now that is why the word came about, men and women. There's a level when you reach there, then automatically you become either a man or a woman.
If you are 18, for instance,
exactly.
Conventional understanding of maturity.
Exactly. So now these two group of people are given the right to get married. However, for them to be married, the law make it very clear that their consent should be so in that. Like you cannot, it happens in our traditional setting. Like parents will marry their daughter. Normally it's common to daughters. They will marry their daughters without even the daughter seeing the person she is going to get married to. This happens. Consent is lacking. They just like the very day of the marriage, or maybe weeks before the marriage, they will come and tell the daughter, well, we have considered some things within the family, and now we have married you to so and so and so. So what is the daughter going to do? The daughter will cry and cry and cry until she wouldn't find a reason to cry.
And this is not. This is even on Islamic.
Exactly, it's not. It's not like Gambia. That is what I always go back to my point. We are refusing to confront our problems. The Gambia here, most of the things that we mix religion and custom. Yes, like giving respect to parents. These are very fundamental elements of our tradition. Important. However, even we need to be Islamic as well. We cannot always follow tradition and ignore the side of religion. We said we are Muslims or Christians, and our religion taught us this. In even the sunnahs of the Prophet also hinted on this. Somebody to be married, you need to seek their consent.
Exactly.
And these are the very advices that our laws are today reflecting.
And one of the signs that the Prophet ﷺ even mentioned was, if you ask your daughter, I want to marry you off to this guy, and she smile. That's a sign of consent. Yes, exactly. So it means even Islam argues that the two parties must be in agreement of the marriage.
Exactly.
So, and this draft constitution is also pointing at the same
thing. Yes. No difference.
So where is the argument coming from?
No, I think sometimes
that whole thing is coming from.
I think sometimes, I remember somebody, some people saying this, like I can't remember the exact quote. They say normally in the Gambia, some people don't debate for the purpose, some people don't argue for the purpose of arguing, but like they argued for the purpose of presenting their opinion to their opponent or the other side. Yeah, and that is very important in any discussion. Like there's this man who said the essence of politics is discussion. That is why the enemy of politics is the desire for certainty at all cost. You can't be certainty when it comes to legal discussion, whether legal or political. Like you are arguing with somebody who is also a reasonable person.
Okay.
Now you need to understand what that person is saying, contrary to what you are saying, and also evaluate that. Is that person right about what he is saying against me? If that is right, then give a room. Accept the person. Yes, you are right, I am wrong. You move forward to another topic of discussion. But we refuse to do this. We always want to be correct. That's the problem.
Don't you think, like our political system also need to include our religious leaders when it comes to this kind of documents, for instance? Because I raise this point because most of the time, Gambians are very religious.
Yes.
And most of the time, whenever their imams give summons on something, they basically believe it straight away.
Yes.
So don't you think it is important for our political class to include these people into such debates so that they can be able to use their platforms to clarify the air for them? Because this one, it's basically it's understandable. It's very clear that a man and a woman of full age and capacity have the right to marry and found a family. And such marriage shall be based on the free and full consent of the man and the woman. So I think this English is really specific.
Specific, yes.
And it is not talking about gay marriage or same-sex marriage.
It's not.
Is it in the draft constitution?
It's not there. It's not there.
So where is this gay thing coming from?
I don't know.
And who is basically pushing this behind? Do you think, like, because when you look at social media, most of the time these arguments are so rageous. What is the point here?
Yeah, actually there's no rational point behind, but people always have an ulterior motive behind anything they want to. Yes. And you mentioned something, don't I think that our religious leaders should be involved when it comes to this type of discussion? Of course, they should be. And in fact, they were engaged. Because during the process of the CRC consultation, both the Supreme Islamic Council and the Gambian Christian Council were all consulted with respect to these particular discussions. Yes, they were consulted. So the problem is actually not about whether they have been consulted or not. It's the problem of we Gambians accepting the reality surrounding us.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so listeners, you're listening to the Legal Hour with me, Yera Espa, and Mr. Musa Sajo, law graduate from the University of the Gambia. We are talking basically discussing on the specific human rights and freedoms on the draft constitution, which was voted against by our parliamentarians just a few weeks back. So if you want to participate in the program, you can call 7841-456, 7841-456 or 329-6069, 329-6069. If you want to make your comment or your contributions to the show, you're highly welcome. So let us look at another point, the rights of women. It's also captured on the draft constitution, and I believe also on the 1997 constitution, but probably there are some variations from one corner to another. So look at, it says women accorded full and equal dignity of the person with men. So most of the time when you talk about the rights of women, you have some other male dominated. I got a call. Hello. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Hey, good evening. How are you? Anlimbara, Kortrante. Todima?
Habibu M. Baji, Birkamada, Islami.
Habibu M. Dabo. Okay, welcome.
Look.
Asha?
Me, Damian, call Yamar Lameno. nga Gambian ko ni nga tuole long.
Nga mune long?
Gambian ko. Nga fen nata. Aka chulo tuje baka because songa kumafo.
Okay.
Aka analyze the pros and the cons of it. Now understand.
Okay.
Atina diamu.
Okay.
Unfortunately, for the time being, this new constitution, draft constitution, they man chance to carry follow. But one thing I observed from day one, politicized.
Wow.
UDP, Usenu Daboti, NPP, Adama.
Okay.
Instead of thinking of the Gambia.
Exactly.
Okay.
Kodo, any more peaceful coexistence. The most important. No. Let me say it in English because you are back.
Okay.
Money.
Yes.
And society or a community or a country living in peaceful coexistence. Which is more important?
I think society is far more important than money.
Yes.
Pardon?
I think society is far more important.
Okay, why are Gambians howling about the $160 million that has been spent? People voted against it because they have seen that in future there would be no end of problems.
Okay.
Where the commissioners themselves have created themselves as if they are the angels of the Almighty God. That from now hence, if it is approved by the referendum and the House, they would have been sacrosanct. They would be the angels of the Gambia to oversee the constitution wherever it is being debated. 2 members of the commission must be there. Who are they?
Okay.
Is that sensible? Are they the only ones who understand the law? Are we not being put in a mess by Batambedu?
Oh, okay. That's your perspective.
Stop there.
Okay. Thank you very much for your call.
All right.
Yes. Thank you for your call. What's your take on this?
I think
let's go.
This is very important, and he mentioned a point that is very important: money and society.
Yes.
What is more important? That point is very fundamental, and when you look at it, it's lacking in the element of the Gambians.
Okay.
Yes, the point is that like most people, yes, money is actually spent to fulfill a mandate, but that mandate hasn't been given a chance to go through. That was what happened.
Okay.
But now people should not look at the fact that money has been wasted.
Okay.
Yes. And now there is a code for this. Like people normally, just as I said, we actually feel obliged to actually giving priority priority to our tribesmen over our country. It's about the concept of national patriotism.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's this man, in fact, like just philosophical, Socrates. Yeah, he was asked a question. He said he is neither an Athenian nor a Greek. He's just a citizen of the world. Now I think that is the mindset Gambians need to actually try to embrace. It doesn't matter whether you are this tribe or whether you are from this particular part of the country or whether this person is your father, this person is your so and so. All those factors are not important.
Okay.
They are just arbitrary factors.
Okay.
They are not important. We should just look at the bigger picture.
All right.
Yeah, and he mentioned something, the last point, which I could disagree at some point. Yes, his argument on the chairmen of the CRC. Yeah, I think that is not important. What is important is that a constitution, once it's passed to become the constitution of the country, neither the government of the Gambia nor the CRC have power over the constitution.
Exactly.
In contrast to the people of the Gambia.
Exactly.
Because the constitution itself make itself very clear that I am the will of the people.
It's self-protective.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter who drafted it today or not.
Yes.
All those points are not important.
All right. So we are running out of time, basically. The show is just for 1 hour. So before we go, so I'll give you like, before that, I would basically apologize for the first edition that we had, because there was some little misconceptions with regards to the program. So we actually elapsed the program before we signed out. Yeah, so I apologize to our listeners for that one. So we're just left with 2 minutes. You can make your conclusion for today, and then we're looking forward to you for next week, Sunday again. It's every Sunday from 6 to 7 p.m. We welcome your presence here, and your final remarks for today.
All right. I think actually it's been a honor. I appreciate the fact that actually I'm being invited here.
Yes.
And I believe like people, this is just a discussion, and the idea is like to actually educate ourselves. Not just the people who are listening, but as you are talking, you are speaking, you are educating yourself. Exactly. And also people are also educating you. Those who called or maybe text to comment, exactly, they also contribute to the show. And this is about sharing knowledge and ideas. And that is how we should all see it.
All right.
And I believe, and I hope these kind of things continue.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, listeners. That was all we have for you. My name is Sierra Esba. That was the Legal Hour from 6 to 7 p.m. My name is Sierra Esba, and Musa Sajo, a law graduate from the University of the Gambia, was our guest today. We appreciate your time for listening, calling, or making your comments. Do stay tuned for another program on Sunday on the Legal Hour. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.